So I've been working on my authorization service, and it's totally sweet. It's only taken me 6 months to build it. Just 6 months. I started implementing some basic RBAC library, but that wasn't enough, obviously. So I designed relationship-based, fine-grained authorization for the highest security possible. And then, to make it super fast, I used a GPU tower, running in my mom's basement, of course, connected via optic cable to bare metal server at my local esports lounge, permissions, restrictions, and admin. Nailed it.
Wait. Whatever you did sounds cool, but there's also another option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with Permit.io. Permit is the full-stack authorization platform created so you never have to build permissions again. Build and manage permissions for any application with policy as code, APIs, developer-friendly SDKs, and user-facing UIs. Permit is an end-to-end authorization platform built on top of open-source policy engines. It's high-performing, gets decisions in less than 10 milliseconds, and uses a hybrid approach where config is in the cloud, but data and decisions are made locally. Not only is it intuitive, it lets you implement fully functional authorization in 5 minutes, not 6 months, and in the code base you prefer. Check out the link in the show notes or go to permit.io to learn more. That's permit.io. Sign up for Permit and stop rebuilding auth.
We actually started using telematic signals to start scoring drivers. We had this fairly sophisticated model that would allow you to detect the true risk of a driver by looking at how they drove in different parts of the country, in different environments, different weather conditions, things of that nature. We were very happy with ourselves. We patted ourselves on the back and said, great job, this is fantastic work. The problem is we didn't fully think through the implications of how this would be used. And so what this ended up setting up was a bunch of really bad conversations where drivers are like, I don't understand why I'm getting penalized. Honestly, it was very embarrassing. It's very poor explainability led to a product that was frankly unusable for the purpose it was built to serve. My name is Jay Ranganathan. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Motive.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
The company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Jay Ranganathan is creating products to help connect your vehicles so you can automate your operations and integrate your fleet. This episode is sponsored by ClearQuery. ClearQuery is the analytics for humans platform. With their full suite of features, you can go from data ingestion to automated insights seamlessly. With Ask ClearQuery, you can find valuable insights into your data using plain English. Don't miss the opportunity to simplify your data analytics with ClearQuery. Get started today at clearquery.io/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Kiteworks. Legacy-managed file transfer tools lack proper security, putting sensitive data at risk. With Kiteworks MFT, companies can send automated or ad hoc files in a fully integrated, highly secure manner. The solution is FedRAMP Moderate authorized by the Department of Defense and has been so since 2017. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. Jay Ranganathan is a typical middle-aged man living in Austin, Texas with a couple of kids and a Tesla. He moved to the U.S. when he was 17 to attend the University of Texas. Post that, he spent 25 years in California at different tech businesses. But outside of tech, he enjoys doing activities with his daughters, rock climbing, and playing sports. In 2013, Jay's current CEO saw a huge opportunity for the millions of heavy freight vehicles on the road. He built an app to track service hours around the time that Jay joined, but they didn't plan on stopping there. This is the creation story of Motive.
Our founder and CEO, Shoaib, he actually started in 2013, so over 10 years ago at this point. He had this epiphany. There was this regulation that was being drawn up that would require long-haul commercial vehicles to use an electronic device to track how much time drivers are spending driving. And when he saw that, he saw a pretty big opportunity for a very fragmented industry. Most people don't know this, and I definitely did not know this when I joined the company, but there's 16 million commercial vehicles on the roads. Maybe 3.5 to 4 million of them are heavy-duty trucks which are moving stuff around. And these trucks operate in a variety of businesses, and the businesses range from mom and pop, one person driving their truck to do work, to 10,000 vehicle fleets. Highly fragmented. Hundreds of thousands of businesses that operate these vehicles, and nobody knows how the US logistics system works. Shoaib saw this opportunity and said, hey, you know what we need to do? There's a great opportunity to get all of these trucks online so you can actually know what's going on. So he built this free app to track hours of service, which is the regulation that was coming. And when the regulation went into effect, he actually had a growth funnel which allowed him to quickly bring a lot of trucks onto our platform. Hugely successful at the time, but his goal was never to stop there. I joined right around that time, and it was a relatively small company, but our goal has always been to build something larger from this base. We have since evolved our products quite dramatically. Now we focus heavily on using computer vision and AI technologies to solve a variety of problems these fleets have. Everything from how do you make your vehicles more fuel efficient, how do you maintain them better, but most importantly, how do you make sure they're safe on the roads? 30% of miles driven in the United States are driven by these commercial vehicles, and these are large vehicles which can often be in accidents that have larger consequences. We've been investing heavily in AI technology to drive our safety products, which have a camera in the vehicle, both looking at the road to give guidance on what's happening out there, but also looking at the driver to give them suggestions like, hey, if they're drowsy, can we alert them about it? If they're looking at the cell phone, can we alert them to stop doing that? Things of that nature. So that's our business today. It's fairly multifaceted at this point. Today, we have 5 different product lines doing a variety of different things, but with a core focus on safety.
Let's dive into, what would be the MVP. And you mentioned the first product, the app. Essentially, they got the trucks on there. And then post that's when you joined. So tell me about the MVP when you joined. Where did you take it from there? What was the next minimum viable product you had to build? Or maybe it was that, and you can tell me the story there. But I'm curious about where it started, that first version, and what sort of tools were used to bring it to life.
Right after I joined, we built the first version of our camera. And it's pretty interesting. Today, our cameras are extremely sophisticated pieces of technology. They have GPUs effectively in them, which are processing computer vision algorithms. They can do a lot of things. You'd be surprised at how much you can squeeze into one of those cameras in terms of the things that you would expect in a self-driving car. A lot of that technology sits in our cameras as well. But obviously, the first version did not have any of this. In fact, the first version was very hard to build AI because the prerequisite for building AI is a lot of data. And of course, we didn't have a lot of data, cameras recording streams of video from long-haul vehicles. So the first thing we built was actually a very simple camera. We made an explicit choice back then. You could have rolled out a camera which had some AI capabilities built into the camera based off of open source algorithms. And it would be like a reasonable amount of precision, reasonable amount of recall, but not very good. We decided to just skip that and say, hey, what we're going to do is very simple. We're going to take a very simple camera. It's going to record continuously. And every time we see a hard brake or a hard acceleration or a swerve, which we can do purely with telematics, we can just do that from the sensors in the vehicle. We don't need to use computer vision. We can say, hey, something interesting happened on the road. Let's upload this video. This became the basis for our training data that allowed us to evolve our products over time. And the reason we did this, with AI products especially, we always have this sort of tussle between precision and recall. What I mean by that is whenever you detect an event, you want that event to be correct. But you want to detect as many events as possible. Typically, people give up on one or the other. So they'll be like, hey, I want to be super safe on alerting the driver. I don't want to give them false alerts. So I'll only alert when I'm really, really sure this is an event. What that means is like 80% of the events that actually happen on the road are discarded. So the quality of AI can really suffer from that. We avoided that in our first generation product. So it was a very simple product, but it still met a lot of use cases, because what we would do is we would take that video up to the cloud, then we would run our AI algorithms there so we could actually detect the behaviors that were happening on the road on the back end. But this also allowed us to collect a large sample set of data and a large sample set of videos that allowed us to evolve our products so that they can be meeting a very high bar for both precision and recall while you're on the road. So we're constantly striving to say, hey, 99.5% of our events, when you hear an alert in the cab, it's going to be correct. We want to capture over 90% of the events that do happen on the road. So we're always striving for that, not giving up on either precision or recall. But the first MVP was way limited because it was the mechanism by which we could achieve the other things we wanted to achieve over time.
This episode is sponsored by Kiteworks. Legacy managed file transfer tools are dated and lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. Companies that continue relying on outdated technology put their sensitive data at risk. And that's where Kiteworks comes in. Kiteworks MFT is absolutely the most secure MFT on the market today. It has been FedRAMP moderate authorized by the Department of Defense since 2017. Through FedRAMP, Kiteworks' level of security compliance provides a fast route to CMMC compliance, saving customers time, effort, and money. Kiteworks MFT makes it easy for users to send automated or ad hoc files via fully integrated shared folders and email. Administrators can manage policies in a unified console and create custom integrations using their API. Did we mention it's secure? The level of security with Kiteworks solution is rare to find. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's KITEWORKS.com. This episode is sponsored by CacheFly. The web is a competitive place, and if your site delivers its content pixelated, slow, or not at all, well, then you lose. But that's where CacheFly comes in. CacheFly delivers rich media content up to 159% faster than other major CDNs. Through ultra-low latency streaming, lightning-fast gaming, and optimized mobile content, the company offers a variety of benefits. For over 20 years, CacheFly has held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery. While competitors call themselves fast or use cute animal names, only CacheFly holds the record of being the fastest and serves customers like Adobe, the NFL, or Roblox, where content is created by users and must be delivered in real time. For the first time ever, Code Story listeners can get a 5 terabyte CDN for free. Yep, you heard that right, free. Learn more at cachefly.com/codestory. That's CACHEFLY.com/codestory. You're at that point, you're gaining some traction, you're moving forward. How did you go about progressing and maturing the products and the product lines? And I'm curious about, to wrap in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is how you built your roadmap and how you went about deciding, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Motive.
On the longer term arc, I mentioned this product that we built and the fact that we didn't have a lot of AI on the camera itself. We brought a lot of the videos to the server to process the AI. That was an intentional choice. And as a result of that, we pretty much knew what the next 2 generations of our cameras needed to do. We knew we needed to move more of the compute to the edge. And we knew that as we ran closer to the edge, we would need higher resolution videos to get the same AI quality. So there's a couple of work streams which I would say are the longer term work streams that we knew up front that we needed to do. And that roadmap was very well settled a priori before we had to worry about anything else. But on a tactical basis, we had a lot of details. Now, what we found in practice is that many of our customers, there was quite a large variety of needs from them. The smaller the customer, the less interested they were in driver rating systems. But the larger customers really had a high expectation of, I need to make sure that I can score my drivers. I need to make sure they have coaches who can help them improve. I need coaching workflows for all these things. Simultaneously, we had to build a bunch of these AI behaviors at the edge. We could have gone down the path of trying to satisfy our biggest customers, and frankly, it looked more lucrative at the time, but we were highly concerned that the amount of energy that each account would take away from building sort of common platform capabilities that are required by all customers. For example, here, driver distraction is actually an extremely complicated act to detect. You have to detect if they're looking at a cell phone, you have to detect if they're drowsy, you have to detect if they're looking away, talking to somebody else. Building that is really hard. Whether you're a small customer or a large customer, you care about that. But driver coaching and then coaching feedback, much less relevant for smaller customers. So we actually made some tough calls walking away from some of the early large customers who were talking to us because we want to focus on a horizontal platform. We did choose to prioritize common platform and give up a class of customers, which meant that we didn't have as much presence in the biggest customer space in the first few years of our journey. But then over time, that's really dramatically changed as we build that common platform layer.
So I hear you saying we, and I'm really curious about how you built your team. And what do you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
First of all, our team is extremely global. We have taken a fairly aggressive, not purely office-driven culture, and that was intentional even before COVID. So we've always had a global workforce. Just to give you a sense, like we have folks, we have a large concentration of people in Buffalo, New York for some reason. We have people in San Francisco and Seattle. I'm in Austin. We have many folks in Vancouver, Toronto. We have folks in Poland. We have folks in Pakistan and India, and we also have folks in Taiwan for our hardware manufacturing. So fairly global workforce. What that gave us was extreme flexibility in bringing in the best people from around the world, particularly folks who are dedicated to specific tasks. And that's been highly helpful to our success. We found that we've needed different types of personalities for different types of problems. When you're doing your day zero project, it has a very different mindset, a different kind of developer persona than if you need somebody who's building a mature product. We generally hire mobile engineers or backend engineers or front-end engineers for our mature products. But when we launch a new product, we typically look for full-stack engineers who are willing to go up and down the stack to solve whatever problem is needed, because we ourselves aren't sure about the exact way resources are going to be allocated. They also have to be much more open to uncertainty. On the flip side, they may not be as rigorous and regimented in their processes, their quality sign-offs, things of that nature. So what we effectively do is we trade off potentially things like scalability on early products, and then we come back and revisit that as the products gain traction. Building for scale too early would have been a waste of time for them. And we care a lot about our speed to market, our speed to delivering capabilities to make sure our products do win.
This episode is sponsored by CashFly. The web is a competitive place, and if your site delivers its content pixelated, slow, or not at all, well, then you lose. But that's where CashFly comes in. CashFly delivers rich media content up to 159% faster than other major CDNs. Through ultra-low latency streaming, lightning-fast gaming, and optimized mobile content, the company offers a variety of benefits. For over 20 years, CashFly has held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery. While competitors call themselves fast or use cute animal names, only CashFly holds the record of being the fastest and serves customers like Adobe, the NFL, or Roblox, where content is created by users and must be delivered in real time. For the first time ever, Code Story listeners can get a 5 terabyte CDN for free. Yep, you heard that right, free. Learn more at cashfly.com/codestory. That's CACHEFLY.com/codestory. Hello, welcome to the Data Analytics Club. Do you know the password? No, didn't know there was one. Do you know how to code? No. Do you know how to query data? Like, ask a question? I guess not. I see. Then you can't be in this club. Sorry. Goodbye. Don't be left out of the Analytics Club. ClearQuery is the Analytics for Humans platform. With their full suite of features, you can go from data ingestion to automated insights seamlessly. ClearQuery provides you with the information you need without requiring you to do the heavy lifting. Their Ask ClearQuery feature allows you to ask questions in plain English, helping you find relationships and connections in your data that may have previously gone unnoticed. You can even visualize your data with presentation mode, taking your data storytelling to the next level. Pricing is based on storage, not licenses, and that ensures that you get the most bang for your buck. Don't miss the opportunity to simplify data analytics, your data analytics, with ClearQuery. Get started today at clearquery.io/codestory. So then let's flip to scalability. And this will be interesting because there's obviously a heavy hardware component, but there's a heavy software component. I'm really curious where they intersect. And I'm curious if this was built with scale in mind from the beginning, or if there's interesting spots where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
When we originally built that compliance application I was talking about, the first application, it was built for scale. But what happened is that when the law that required that mandate to be going into effect went into effect, we went from a company with a few thousand users to a company with like hundreds of thousands of users in literally a month. So even though it was designed for scale, just a general onslaught that happened in a month period was so high that we actually spent the next 6 months digging ourselves out of a deep hole that we had sunk into at that point. And so there are definitely challenges on that front. We continue to face those challenges, but there's the system scalability of, hey, are your database is charted correctly? Are you developing for an architecture where a customer has 100,000 vehicles on a single account? Those problems exist, but those have honestly not been the biggest issues. The biggest issues have been, how do you scale for a large engineering workforce that has to work together in a single code base? You mentioned the hardware and software components. We have hardware, software, computer vision folks who are iterating on algorithms, and all of these products have to work in a cohesive way up and down the stack. A computer vision person builds a new model that has to be pushed onto the embedded device, has to run effectively. The data that's being brought back is used as core drivers in the back end. Actually, scaling for that problem, I would say, is more challenging than scaling for a pure performance or supporting a client with a particularly large number of entities type problem. It's bringing 600 developers onto one platform and having them all be effective and sufficiently isolated that they can make progress while continuing to provide an integrated solution. That's honestly been the hardest challenge. And I can't tell you that we've completely solved that. That's an ongoing battle that we're constantly fighting on a daily basis at this point.
Well, Jay, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, what are you most proud of?
I feel like every company that I've worked at has had a meaningful impact to the world. My first company is a company called VMware, which my mom still has no idea what it does. Most people don't. I've worked at companies like Uber, which also visibly have an impact on the world. But Motive is very special. Its impact is visceral. I'm very confident that the work we've done, there are thousands of people who are at home, going to have dinner tonight with their families, who would not be if it wasn't for the work we did. What we do saves lives. It's measurable that we have a huge impact on that front. And that's just a very satisfying feeling. I'm never going to be a doctor. I wish I had done that at some point, but this is the closest I'm ever going to come to feeling like what a doctor probably feels like on a daily basis.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
One of the things we are big on, we've invested a lot in AI and computer vision and things of that nature. We actually started using telematic signals to start scoring drivers. If they're breaking a lot, that probably means there's something awry with the way they're driving. We made this even more sophisticated, so we'd be like, hey, if you're driving in a city, you're going to brake a lot because that's just the way city driving works. Whereas if you're driving on a highway, it's different. And if you're driving on a hill, it's different. And so we had this like fairly sophisticated model that would allow you to detect the true risk of a driver by looking at how they drove in different parts of the country, in different environments, different weather conditions, things of that nature. We were very happy with ourselves. We patted ourselves in the back and said, great job, this is fantastic work. And in fact, many of our customers really appreciated the work we did too, because it was very clear and measurable how our score could really tell you whether a driver was good or bad. The problem is it didn't fully think through the implications of how this would be used. The customer needs to have a conversation with this driver and say, hey, you're a bad driver. And the driver has actually no context. There's no explainability in the score because it's a sophisticated score that's looking at like a bunch of variables, and you can't just say, oh, you're a bad driver because you follow the car in front of you too closely or you drive too fast. It was a much more nuanced model. And so what this ended up setting up was like a bunch of really bad conversations where drivers are like, I don't understand why I'm getting penalized. This is my living. I don't understand what's going on. Honestly, it was very embarrassing. It was very poor explainability led to a product that was frankly unusable for the purpose it was built to serve. It cost us a bunch of time and energy to build that. It cost our customers time and energy to deploy that. And it just resulted in a really poor experience for the folks who are in the front lines who were doing the work. So we completely had to drop that and revamp it. And the biggest part of these kinds of exercises is the humility, I would say, or somebody slapping you in the face and what you did is wrong, because you get attached to these things. This model was very sophisticated. It was very accurate, but it was impractical for use. And so we just kept fighting to make it work, when the reality was it was the wrong approach. Somebody pointed out to me, hey, we should just not do this. And it took me months after that person pointed out to actually accept that what we had done was a mistake. Those choices are hard to face up to.
Jay, this will be fun. What does the future look like for Motive, the product lines, and for your team?
We currently have 5 product lines, as I mentioned, but many of them are leveraging our AI capabilities. One of the things we are really interested and excited in is the fact that computer vision is going to dramatically change the world over the coming years. That's pretty apparent already. We believe there's a class of applications, these physical operations businesses, who are not getting well served by things like computer vision. And so we are really, really excited about the prospect of bringing vision to more and more operations fields. We've done a lot around driver safety. We have a lot more we want to do around driver safety, but we think there's opportunities that go beyond driver safety, community safety, or even things like looking at passengers in a bus or looking at school children and things of that nature, where we've only dipped our toes at the beginning of what is possible with computer vision, and we intend to aggressively invest more and more in this really exciting technology domain and see where it can take us in terms of serving our customers.
Okay, let's switch to you, Jay. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
I can't name a person, but I will name more of a movement. I really like the concept of stoicism. I've been at startups over and over again. Startups are a bit gut-wrenching, to be honest. There's always highs and there's always lows, and it's like hard on your emotions. And I actually do this thing. I have this book on stoicism, which just has like a page a day, which just gives you a little tidbit. And it just relaxes me, to be honest, just to center myself and say, hey, you can't let any of these stresses get to you because these things are transient. I generally think my team would say that I'm not very perturbable. I don't get emotionally distraught too easily. I really think this plays a huge role in that, which is this constant reminder to myself about keeping myself centered and not letting myself get pulled too high or too low any given day. It's something that I just really enjoy.
Okay, so we talked about a mistake earlier, but this is a little different spin. If you could go back to the beginning, what would you do different? Or where would you consider taking a different approach? Doesn't have to be a mistake. Could have been something that even worked, but maybe you tweak it a little bit.
I didn't come from the hardware world, and hardware is extremely finicky master. Every choice you make lives with you for years on end. There are small choices that we made in our previous generations of hardware that still bother me to this day. For example, how your connector plugs in. This is things that we in software land never think about. We stick in a cord into our MacBooks or PCs, and we never think about the quality of that card and whether it has like issues. But the cards in my camera stick into a device that is potentially vibrating constantly as it drives around the road. It's potentially in a construction field with massive amounts of vibration, and it has to deal with just way more intensity. And I'm like, should we actually had a connector here which removed, or should we have just left it plugged in a way that is soldered on so it can never come off? Like these kinds of minor choices have these like massive like long-term implications for us in terms of our RMA rates. And there's just like this litany of small things which really make me deeply appreciate like the level of precision and thought that has to go into every hardware choice that companies like Apple make on a daily basis when they have to serve like hundreds of millions of people. Our current generation products have fixed them, but having one less generation of this would have been nice.
Jay, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. They can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
Most folks, and myself included, who start companies and start from, hey, there's a problem that's interesting, there's a technology that's interesting, and if you just build the right solution for this problem or use the right technology, we will win. In some wonderful world that might be true, but thinking deeply about how you go to market, thinking deeply about the economics of going to market efficiently are often not as first order problems that people think about, but I think are just as important for people starting a business, which is how are you going to sell customers? What is the value proposition for a customer? Is it 10x better than their current generation solution? If that is true, is it efficient given how much you're going to be able to charge them? Is it efficient to have a salesperson sell this thing? Or is that a product-led growth strategy that's going to make this work? What is your cost of acquisition? How do you make sure that it's efficient enough to actually support the business that you plan to build? Is a question that unfortunately gets short shrift in many of these discussions. But there are probably hundreds of companies, thousands of startups that have failed and that we never hear about because they haven't thought about that. And I think that's actually one of the more important questions to address before you even start your business.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, Jay, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling your creation story at Motive.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.